tell what you ate this morning?
Um, that's a good question. Yeah, I had not pancakes, eggs and grits and gravy.
Mm.
Can y'all hear it?
Yes, but can
Okay.
you lift up your arm? We're gonna have this go behind you.
Okay. Get up.
Yeah, should I, like, how do I keep it back here? I'm just gonna tuck it.
Go once under the strap,
Okay.
and then pin it.
I'm gonna pin this back here, up here. There we go.
Thank you. Is it working?
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's great. All right, back to those food items.
Ah, we said grits and gravy and scrambled eggs. What else was it?
We're good.
Close enough. Am I just looking this way the whole
Yeah,
You can
time?
look
Okay.
yeah,
ahead.
you can look at me.
Cool.
Uh, cheese on the eggs? No cheese?
No cheese.
Okay, just
I don't know if that's a rule for y'all. It was like, did you put sugar in your grits? Like, I don't
no.
know.
I don't do sugar in the grits, but that doesn't mean that I won't eat sugar in the grits.
Right.
So,
Can y'all tell me your names? I'm Kamaria.
oh, I didn't say okay. My name is Jawanza.
Jawanza.
Nia.
Nia.
Shaq.
Shaq. Good to
We
meet
are
y'all.
Blackwater Branding, which is a minority ran content creation agency.
Nice.
So we build brands, help tons of people get their content out in a form and fashion that tells a story.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing right now.
Awesome. No, thank you. So we're gonna start with some warm up questions, and then we're gonna dive into the good stuff. Like I said, we're looking at this to be about 10 minutes, so we don't have to get super long. But then if you feel very passionate about a particular answer and want to go in depth, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. So, share with me your name, where you currently live, and where did you grow up?
My name is Kamaria Moyer. I currently live in Baltimore City. And after 15 years outside of the city, I'm back in Baltimore City.
All right, you say you lived outside of the city. Where did you live?
I lived in Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, Atlanta, Georgia. Yep. Almost all unintentional. There's some Baltimore folks who are like, I'm getting out of here as soon as I can. And that was never me. But I left and I came back.
Okay. So, being from a more metropolitan based atmosphere, and then coming down here to Stratford, what what is that juxtaposition like for you?
I grew up a city kid, so a lot of concrete. And then we went out to the suburbs and I had a lot of trees, sort of like this. So it was really more bittersweet homecoming type of feeling. It didn't feel that different from what I remember as a kid. And my cousins, we went out to the country when we were little, so had a little bit of this growing up. Yeah.
What is this your first time here or
No, this is maybe my third or fourth visit at this point.
okay? Tell me if it, and I want you to kind of think back. So it's your first time coming to Stratford. You get out the car, you set foot here. What is it? What are you? What's going through your head? What does it feel like?
Is there a signal if we need to call someone, if we need to get out of here? Um, it was a lot of deliberation with the family before we even came down here. Like, how safe do you feel going back to not only a plantation, but like the plantation where your family was held? Did not feel good. Took a long time to get here. But coming as a family, it was like, this is important to come here. And everybody can't disappear at the same time. Somebody gonna hear about it if something goes wrong. So when we got here, it was a very warm reception, and I'm glad we came.
Whose idea was it to make that first trip?
That's my uncle Lonnie, as far as I know, Lawrence Johns,
Okay.
and he's our family historian for the most part. He just dives into this information and makes connections for us. And the older I get, the more I understand how important those connections are. So shout out to Uncle Lonnie. Thanks
Okay.
to him for that.
You said the older you get, the more important you understand those connections are.
Mhm.
what do you understand now that you feel that you did not understand at first?
I think that there's an aspect of erasing people, and whittling them down and whittling their lives down when we talk about folks who have been, um, we're talking about like chattel slavery, but people are living in slavery in 2023. People are living in slavery today. So I think the way stories were told when I came here, talking about skilled laborers, people who are blacksmiths, people who are chefs, making food from scratch is not a microwave dinner. It's an incredible thing to think about. Just hearing everything that went into making this place run and understanding that my family was part of like building this place from scratch, literally brick by brick built this place. There's as much sadness as there is understanding that that life was not easy, understanding there's a pride that they still made something that still standing here. You
Uh, we've done a series of interviews so far, and something that I feel from your family is a great sense of strength. And the question that I've been asking everyone is there characteristics that you see, like you see in yourself, that you see like in your mother, that you would also see maybe in your grandmother, like a lineage that's passed on? Do you, what do you see?
know. My grandma, um, on my mom's side, so my mom's mom, she's a big person on education. She always cared and still cares about, you know, learning what you can and, representing yourself and representing your family as best you can. But definitely the pathway to that is like learning everything that you can. So that my uncle has like this deep knowledge when it comes to history and so many other things. And then being able to tap into some of that knowledge now, I think I definitely see that. Like we want to know, you know, hard stories, happy stories. We all are like, give me more. I need more.
Let's elaborate on where you said the give you more of the stories. Are there any stories that you can recall that your family have shared that pertain to Stratford?
Not Stratford directly, but like there was a ceremony earlier today honoring the ancestors, and the person guiding us was like, "Don't be afraid, of the ancestors." And the children were putting like the shells down to recognize them. And she's like, "Don't be afraid of the ancestors." And I remember at my papa's house, so my mom's grandfather's house in the country, we would always be afraid of the ghosts or what they call the haints. But we were always told like, don't be afraid. Like if there's a spirit here, it's not here to hurt you. And I think that's something that resonates even more when I come here. I Each time that I've come here, I've said a prayer for our folks who were whatever they went through. You know, gratitude for them for like pulling through any way they could. Somebody survived long enough that we're here, and you know, yeah, I think a lot about like the spirits, and if there's somebody here so far, the prayers and all the vibes that I've gotten are like they're not here to hurt you if somebody's here.
Hmm. If you could speak to one of the enslaved today and have a conversation with them, what bit of encouragement would you pass on to them?
There's a oral tour or something. There's an audio tour here, and you can do an experience listening to what enslaved folks were going through, and there are voice actors embodying folks. I may mispronounce his name. I think his name was Sani.
Hmm.
There was a gentleman who he would work in the great house and he would run away whenever he could. And when he was in the great house, he was supposed to be wearing this elaborate outfit, tails and all this stuff. And the story that they were talking about was one of these times when he was returned after he ran away, the leads, you know, the white leads were hosting um, some dignitaries or something, and he came in the room with a dirty uniform and his tails out and stuff. Like he didn't even have to say anything. He was just like, "As much regard you have for me, here you are. This is how I feel about the situation." And it was just like such a small thing to think about, like, oh, the uniform wasn't clean, but it was like a scandalizing idea. And what they said on the tour was one year he was in the list of inventory of people, and then after this episode, we don't see his name on the list anymore.
Mm.
So I would say I really hope that he ran away and he made it. And I hope, yeah, as an elder, like I thank him for like that personal dignity that he put forward and that he showed, because like under those conditions, you know, this is a place where we try to tell a multitude of stories. So I get the hardest story that you might be able to tell about this place is probably not going to wind up on a commercial somewhere. But even just that little bit of him asserting like his dignity as a person, I appreciated that story. And I hope, yeah, I hope his name wasn't on the list because he got up somewhere that nobody would return him. He stayed safe.
Mm. I got just a few more. The celebration of First Africans Day. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, I even appreciate that they attempt to call this place a historic site. I don't I don't see a lot of like, oh, the plantation, and there's like a glorification of the money that the White Lee family had. And anytime you see that there's a lot of wealth, that's impressive, right? Like, oh, I see all this stuff, but it's like, how did they get that? You know, where did that wealth come from? That wealth was literally created um, by people who were enslaved here, and apparently people who were indentured here as well. So it's like, okay, telling the story of the people who made this valuable, made this place a place to host dignitaries, made it a place that's now, you know, a site to return to. I think that's really important. And I also didn't really make the connection that, like, the ship, what I was told was the ship that brought folks here had like 82 folks or something originally that were um, bound for here being enslaved, and like 70 people actually got off the ship because 12 perished. So I also think about that, like the people who left some part of West Africa, whatever terrifying thing that was on that ship, and they didn't even make it here to get to this next phase of, you know. So I appreciate being able to think about the ancestors who made it, those who went home sooner than others. They were like, this ain't it, and tapped out early. Um, that's what I think about with the First Africans Day. Like just stories of folks that we won't even hear anything like their story, because I don't know, somewhere between their village and the boat, we don't know anything else. So I appreciate that there is some recognition of folks and the folks who made it here.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That was great